President Trump signed 8 executive orders in front of a crowd at the end of his inaugural parade and speech. There are 3 orders in particular that I want to call your attention to, and then we will get to the rest. So one is titled Price Relief for American Families and Defeating the Cost of Living Crisis. So in this order, Trump suggests it was the regulatory oppression from the Biden administration that increased the cost of living in America. But as I've reported, no president can order prices to be lowered. That's just not how capitalism works. So what Trump did in this executive order was to order heads of every department to take whatever legal steps they can to lower the cost of housing and expand housing supply, eliminate unnecessary administrative expenses and rent-seeking practices that increase healthcare costs, eliminate counterproductive requirements that raise the cost of home appliances, create employment opportunities for American workers, including drawing discouraged workers into the labor force, and eliminate harmful coercive climate policies that increase the costs of food and fuel. But that's all very vague and certainly cannot happen overnight. For example, expanding the housing supply will take months or years, and that's if you could get the companies to actually build the homes. But with everything, we will just have to wait and see how that all plays out. The second executive order from that event I want to call your attention to is the order titled Restoring Freedom of Speech and Ending Federal Censorship. In this order, Trump says over the last 4 years, the previous administration trampled free speech rights by censoring American speech on online platforms, often by exerting substantial coercive pressure on third parties such as social media companies to moderate, deplatform, or otherwise suppress speech that the federal government did not approve. Under the guise of combating misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation, the federal government infringed on the constitutionally protected speech rights of American citizens across the United States in a manner that advanced the government's preferred narrative about significant matters of public debate. So, this order says the federal government should not be in the business of policing misinformation or disinformation. And the third executive order I want to call your attention to from that event is the one titled Ending the Weaponization of the Federal Government. In this order, President Trump says the Biden administration and its allies engaged in unprecedented third world weaponization of prosecutorial power to upend the democratic process. So to end what Trump calls the weaponization of government, Trump is directing his Attorney General and Director of National Intelligence to investigate the investigators in the Department of Justice, the Securities Exchange Commission, and the Federal Trade Commission, especially as it relates to the last 4 years. But the very first executive order Trump signed at that Capital One Arena event was no surprise. He signed an executive order rescinding 78 executive orders that President Biden issued. Everything from Biden's executive order to direct the federal government to continue to implement the safe, secure, and trustworthy development and use of artificial intelligence, to withdrawing Biden's White House initiative on advancing education, equity, excellence, and economic opportunity for Native Americans. At that Capital One event, Trump also signed orders to withdraw from the Paris Climate Treaty and enact regulatory freezes on all government agencies, meaning they cannot issue any kind of federal rule on anything until the Trump cabinet takes full control of the government. He signed an executive order to freeze all new federal hiring except for military members and those in immigration enforcement, national security, and public safety. And he issued an order directing all heads of departments and agencies to take all the necessary steps to terminate remote work and require all federal employees to return in person to their desks. So if you want to read any of these executive orders, I will email them out to you in my Facts HQ newsletter tonight, so make sure you sign yourself up.